Hello and welcome to This Week at the Movies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Eric.
And this week, our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to watch Tom Cruise's maybe final Mission Impossible, the eighth in the franchise that has spanned 30 years. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. They've certainly talked about it being the final Mission Impossible, but I thought the end was more open-ended than I was expecting from a, you know, perhaps final outing in the Mission Impossible universe, which leads me to wonder if it is actually going to be the final mission.
I mean, I don't know how you up the stakes from here is the only thing. I think they kind of proved with this that even when they're at their most intense, they're doing stuff that they're starting to do stuff that we've seen before.
Well, we know it's the final mission for at least one of the core actors, which they established early on. I thought it was going to be the final mission for Ethan Hunt in a very literal sense. But the ending ended up being profound. This one, the longest in the franchise, almost 3 hours. And if you go to any theater that shows any amount of trailers beforehand, you're definitely getting a 3 hour theatrical experience. I think I was in seat for 3 hours and 35 minutes,
yeah,
because I had 10 minutes before it started and then 25 minutes, 27 minutes of trailers. Thank you, Cinemark. It's a lot, but it kept my attention. I would say this is Dead Reckoning. I thought was introspective in the way of how do they get involved in the IMF and what does it mean for these people to be selected and what has it meant in their lives. This was more introspective in, to me, his time that we've seen him with the IMF and the missions that he's done. There was a lot of connective thread to tie things back together, even ones you don't expect. We circle back to the rabbit's foot from Mission Impossible 3, an answer that most people never thought they were going to get. We have some fun pop-ups from characters from the original film that I wasn't expecting, that ended up being very richly rewarding and emotionally rewarding, not just for the audience, but for Ethan as a character, too. I thought that was interesting. We have a couple of big set pieces that we have seen in trailers and marketing. You get to the Sevastopol, which I thought was a really cool set piece. The final stunt was amazing. On planes, you see pieces of it in the trailer, so you kind of know where it's going, but I thought it was amazing and satisfying. We get all the characters that got introduced in Dead Reckoning back, and we get some interesting connections for some of them, some interesting backstory for some that I wasn't expecting, that tie in kind of fun ways. But you also get new characters. Hannah Waddingham, who I've always enjoyed on Ted Lasso, had a fun part here. Tramell Tillman, who we really enjoy on Severance, had one of the sneaky best performances in here in a really fascinating and fun sequence.
Nick Offerman.
There's a whole bunch of people that got some interesting screen time. I have always, as much as these movies are about Ethan Hunt, they're also about the one constant in his Mission Impossible life, and that's been Luther. And I thought there were some beautiful moments for Ving Rhames in this one. I'm giving it a solid thumbs up. I had a good time with this. I know some people have been more mixed. I don't think, for me, it didn't reach the height of Fallout or Rogue Nation, but I liked it a little better than Dead Reckoning, which is the one that I had third in the franchise. So I right now have it third in my Mission Impossible rankings. I still think the 4 that we got from Christopher McQuarrie are the best of this franchise. This brings it kind of full circle. And I had a good time with this. This is what I'm looking for in a summer blockbuster.
Yeah. Angela Bassett, Simon Pegg, and Tom Cruise turn a movie that would be exposition scene, then tension set piece, then exposition scene, then tension set piece, into a movie that has stakes and weight and emotional feeling. And Ving Rhames does as well. I don't think any performance in this movie is actually not good, but I just pick those three as standouts because I think it is hard to deliver an emotional through line in a Mission Impossible movie because of the way they're made. They make the set pieces first, they build the movie, through the filming of the movie and gradually fill in gaps and shoot scenes as they need to try and make things make sense. And to have the emotional Shea Wiggum too, like to have the emotional weight that they have, like I honestly was almost more invested in the tension of what was happening at the end inside the danger lockdown room with the bomb with William Dunlow than I was with the planes with Ethan. Just like in terms of more tension and fear of like what is going to happen. But no, this stuff was an absolute blast, like from beginning to end. I had to go to the bathroom and I went directly at the halfway point. I found one tiny lull moment after they escape from an Arctic refuge that got burned down by Russians that are leaving, right over the bit where she's learning how to run the like dog sled or whatever. There was just a quiet moment, and then by the time I got back they were already ramping up and talking about how impossible things were about to get, and like everything was moving again. And
But you saw their exchanges on the plane, I assume.
Which one?
With him and Dunlow.
With who and Dunlow?
Ethan.
Yes, absolutely. That's
I thought that was one of the more beautifully emotional
yes
beats
of all
for
of
him too, And
yeah.
I have to be honest, I almost forgot what Luther had told him about the poison pill and when he put it in that thing. Because you're waiting to see who survived kind of there. And then when his voice kicks in, I was like, oh shit, that's right.
Yeah.
There is a final message, and that ended up being so kind of profoundly beautiful. That really hit me too.
Like that's the thing. I was completely sold into it. I know they were trying to make it feel final and they were trying to make it emotional, but I bought it. I ate up every second of this movie.
It probably is the last one that Cruise is gonna do. I mean, it's hard to do these stunts physically, and he's up in his 60s now. It's been a long stretch, and honestly, I probably would have had a heart attack just learning about the plane stunt that I would have to do. I don't know how he physically did that because I'm not great with heights either. So, but that had to have been incredibly physically demanding and challenging. I mean, you're talking about high ones up in the air, and the other big stunt pieces is underwater, which is also not easy. I mean, these testing the physical limits. If this ends up being his final one, I think this is a great way to go out, and I think we're going to remember this 8-film series as being something really fun.
Yeah. And I think for my first viewing, I'm actually going to give this a full 2 thumbs up. I don't think I can ask for a better experience for a first time watching a movie, feeling the amount of tension that I felt and like enjoying a emotionally serviceable, well-performed ride. I don't think I can ask for better in this. I know on a second viewing, the tone is going to feel clunky and it changes like the beat right before the opening credits where they do this thing, which again, I was totally sold into. So I loved this part when I watched it this time. Tom Cruise actually goes off screen, and instead of doing a bunch of choreographed stunt work, he picks up a hammer, and we just watch Haley Atwell's reactions to him slaughtering.
It was really fun.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was really fun, but it was definitely like.
And then it was, come on, we gotta go.
Yeah,
come on, we gotta go.
Yeah, and it was definitely like a change in tone from like what they do, and the same thing with like the climax of the whole escape from the submarine thing where he's against the wall and everything kind of like turns to like fading time and things like that. Like there's just little beats. I think some of the humor is really wacky. Like I don't want to like give it away, but the death of the lead bad guy is like, wow, like what? And Tom Cruise getting on that plane and it like spinning around and him just letting the original plane, like the one in the red plane, just letting that guy fall. Like, what are you gonna do? I guess that makes sense, but like,
I think he did it on purpose because he unclipped them before
yeah,
he
because he needed the
flipped it
seats.
upside
Like,
down. Yeah.
yeah, like, but uh yeah, I enjoyed all that, but I think on future viewings I'm gonna like I the way that the movie is spliced together and edited, so we're seeing, I think we saw the same clips from the first movie 4 times,
Yeah. And
and
I think that's
you
been
know
some of the complaint. Also, I still think it's funny and weird. Like they made us Dead Reckoning Part 1, and
mhm.
I bought the Blu-ray when it, or the digital copy when it came out, probably both. When I was watching it again, it says End Part 1, and it
Yeah,
says Dead Reckoning Part 1. And they've retconned it now so that we just refer to it as Dead Reckoning and the Final Reckoning. But
yeah.
little things like that. There's been some suggestion that they didn't totally know what they were going to do in a part 2, that they knew that the second and third act sequences on the
Mhm.
submarine and the the biplane, and it's like, well, how are we going to get there? We have to build some backs and stuff, and it will be fascinating to watch those movies back to back when
Mhm.
when they're now
Oh
available to.
gosh, if you
I mean, it's a 5.5 hour commitment,
yeah.
but but it
Yeah.
is still going to be uh kind of fascinating. I do miss Ilsa. I thought
Yeah.
it was a bummer, but I like Haley Atwell's character. I liked Palm Clementif. They
I
really
love Tom Clemente.
in the first movie she was kind of two dimensional until maybe
Yeah.
the very last second, and in this one, I thought it was really fun the way she integrated in. I thought the twist with Shea Wiggum's character was fascinating to me as well.
Yep.
And a great ending there.
Mhm.
There was a lot of
Yeah.
fun moments, and it almost, so the ending of this movie almost reminds me of the end of the series ER, which had, at the point in time when it ended, it had been on for 15 years. I had been watching it for more years of my life than I had not been watching it at that point in time, because I was like 94, I was like 12 or 13 when it debuted, and I had been watching it for 15 years, and it was like, how do you end something that's been so long running, that's really about an emergency room that is just always there when you need it? And the ending was kind of anticlimactic in that they wrapped up some personal storylines, but their jobs were just continuing. As you're pulling out, there's another ambulance pulling up at the ER, and it's, these doctors are going to be there when you need them. The ER always stays open. And in that sense, I thought I had a lot of ideas about how I thought they were going to end Mission Impossible, and
Mhm.
some of the way they do some of the lines in the voiceover at the beginning, I thought we were going to have a little more finality. But then the more I've reflected on it the last couple of days since I saw the movie, the way that it's kind of, you got closure on these personal ideas for Ethan, and why do we do this, and have I made a difference, and have I ruined lives, or have I done,
Mhm.
get some personal closure there, but it's like the field agents are still there and the work continues.
And also just like this spirited idea that I feel like is a through run behind Tom Cruise and his work in general. Like there's a lot of reservations I have about Tom Cruise as a person, but this idea of like the world is at odds and everyone is staring at each other down the barrel of a gun. but through sheer will and work and belief and hope that things are going to get better, commitment to the impossible is going to, is an answer for how we are going to get through times that feel very uncertain and very, dystopic. So, I just bought into the whole thing. The Mission Impossible 1 and 2 and The Mummy were like the first PG-13 movies I ever watched. And then I saw 3
Two of those are good.
theaters. Yeah, I saw 3. I saw 3 in theater. 2 was actually my favorite because I
Of
saw it
Mission
when I was a
Impossible?
kid. No, when I watched 1 and 2, because like I don't know, I just bought into the aesthetic of it. I don't know what it is. I was pretty young.
You know,
That
they
movie came out when I
retconned
was 9 years old, and I
they
saw it
retconned the plot of
on
every
video.
single Mission Impossible movie back into this, except
Yeah, they did.
the deuce never happened.
There was no, hey, that Chimera virus.
They reached out to everything except
Yeah, they showed clips from it. Yeah, whatever.
maybe his longer hair was a nod to number 2.
Yeah. Well, I think that was funny because now, except for 6, they go short, long, short, long, short, and then short, short, long. But I don't know. The point is, I've seen every movie since then in theaters when it came out, and I have like very distinct emotional memories with each of them. And it's honestly, walking out of the theater feeling like this is the last time I'll see one of these movies for the first time, it felt like really heartrending. Like, I don't know, there was something really emotional about hearing that music go off and then like having to walk out of the theater. It was I don't know, man. I'm always gonna have enjoyed my experience the first time watching this movie, regardless of how I end up feeling about it later.
Yeah. I mean, I had a lot of fun with it. It was everything I was hoping it would be. And I think we've gotten some interesting and fun horror and action movies in the middle, but we have actually our 2 first big summer tentpoles, Thunderbolts and Mission Impossible, I think have been satisfying. That makes me excited for where we're going for the rest of summer. There are some big stakes movies in June. There are huge stakes movies, as we talked about, in July. And it makes me very excited that this might end up being one of our better summers in recent memory with all the kind of things. It's been a while since everything has sort of hit and worked, even things that I didn't, Final Destination Bloodlines isn't going to be a personal favorite. Clown in a Cornfield, Fight or Flight, they aren't going to be personal favorite, but I thought they were all entertaining.
Yeah.
Which, is kind of what you're looking for, at least for summer. Next week, we have Karate Kid and the horror movie Bring Her Back. And then the beginning of June, new Wes Anderson, new John Wick, How to Train Your Dragon, 28 years later. A lot of things starting to ramp up. I'm getting excited for summer and the potential, and July is either going to be amazing or deflating.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you, but going into Mission Impossible, the first 2 trailers they had out of the box were Fantastic Four, First Steps, and then Superman. And I was like, oh man. No. And I have to be honest, I told you I was real hesitant about Superman, that final trailer, or I hope it's the final trailer. Stop
Stop showing everything.
But that final trailer where it begins with Lois interviewing him as Superman, that worked for me in a way none of their marketing has worked so far. I've been kind of out on all of the marketing, and I saw that and I was like, felt like Al Pacino in The Godfather Part 3. Just when I was out, they pulled me all the way back in. Which is interesting because the final trailer for Fantastic Four, I almost feel the opposite. I was like, okay, your marketing teams, you didn't sync up, but we're gonna figure it out. But excited about Mission Impossible. I hope people enjoy it. I'll be excited to watch it again. I'm with you. Like it never hits the same as the first time when you don't know how things are going to go. But you probably pick up little things that you miss because your mind's going a million miles a second. And,
Yeah.
I want to hear some of those poignant lines again, like Luther's final speech. I feel like I had almost forgotten that we were going to get something like that and didn't. You're so after such a high octane adrenaline pump of all those pieces coming together all kind of at once. I don't know if you're fully ready for that moment. I want to be able to appreciate and savor it. And there was a lot of fun little things. I can't wait to watch Tremel Tillman again. That was so fun, like especially at the end. Without my thing, you won't make it. Your tank was never part of my plan. Oh,
yeah.
What is your plan? That's the guy you want. That's the guy you want to go to battle with.
He was so like human, good guy, Mr. Melchak. I love that guy. Like,
what's interesting too is I've always appreciated the performance, but I don't really appreciate that character on the show. It was nice for him to be a character with a great performance that I actually liked, that you're rooting for. So,
yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. Also, at least Hannah Waddingham was attempting an American accent. It rang a little bit hollow to have Haley Atwell and Simon Pegg, who are not even attempting an American accent, talking about being representatives of the American government when they're facing the Russians. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Really? Well, we'll transition from that high to something I also thought was a high. I don't know if you saw, but checking in on Last of Us.
I didn't see it.
The penultimate episode. I am just gonna say, Pedro Pascal came back. Was the kind of flashback episode. By far my favorite episode of the entire show. Probably one of the first episodes I've actually truly loved. And it bums me out a little bit because there's nowhere for it to go. You get a lot of gaps filled in from that 5-year period, a lot of questions filled in. There are some great cameos, including from Joe Pantoliano, who's in there. I thought it was incredible. Will probably be on my top 10 episodes of the year. I don't know how I'm going to feel about the show. And now them talking about to do the second game, they need a third and a fourth season makes me pretty sure we're getting a House of the Dragons level. Everything's been leading to a confrontation with Abby, who we're never going to see in the final episode. So be curious to see how it wraps up. I'll be curious to see when you see the episode. I thought it was greater than I imagined it was going to be.
Awesome.
So a lot of fun. Before we check out things we haven't seen, it is time for everyone's favorite explain a movie plot poorly. I think this one's going to be tough for you. A woman doesn't know how she likes her eggs cooked until the end. So there are a lot of movies opening this weekend. I'm going to be seeing Lilo and Stitch here this afternoon. Looking forward to that. But I have seen a few streaming movies. There is one on Apple TV Plus that I really enjoyed. It is called Fountain of Youth. It comes from director Guy Ritchie. It is a national treasure type hunt through the past for a treasure. I thought it mixed in some elements that I liked from those national treasure movies and from like the Mummy movies. Isa Gonzalez, who you see pictured here, is kind of like Oded Fehr's character in the Mummy, in that she's the protector to try to prevent them from getting there. John Krasinski and Natalie Portman play estranged adult siblings that come back together as part of this hunt that's being funded by a billionaire played by Domhnall Gleeson. I had a lot of fun with this one. My wife and I watched it. They have some crazy set pieces too, including bringing up a sunken ship from the ocean floor and exploring some things there, finding a secret chamber in the pyramids in Egypt. That was a lot of fun. John Krasinski, his performance, his dialogue, some of the wit in there. I gave that one a good thumbs up, 3.5 stars. I think that is worth checking out on Apple TV Plus. There's also a romantic comedy, if you're looking for something more romance, that's streaming on Tubi called Worth the Wait. It is set in Seattle and then parts of it in Kuala Lumpur. It's kind of a Love Actually style, looking at these interconnected people and different stages of relationships. I didn't know what to expect. I had a lot of fun with that one too. A solid romantic comedy if you're looking for some streaming options. I have seen Fear Street's Prom Queen too. If you liked the other Fear Street ones, hold on to those memories. This one moves to 1988 Prom. We get Chris Klein and Catherine Waterston are the kind of more familiar adult actors in here. It was of all the movies I've seen, it's one of them. It was just okay. I didn't think it was as good as the other Fear Street ones. It is relatively short. It's 90 minutes, and of that, like 8.5 minutes are credits. So it's a quick watch. There are a lot of kills and maimings at a prom. There is a dance off to what's the band that does Mamma Mia? ABBA. An ABBA song. You get Sweet Dreams in there. You get plenty of late 80s. It's set at the prom in 1988, so kind of going back there. I thought it had potential. It just didn't quite click for me. It was just okay. Do you want your hint?
Oh yes, I forgot there's a hint. Yes.
The hint is she has cold feet.
This
is a romantic comedy. May not be in your
yeah. No, it's I'm gonna take a stab in the dark and say When Harry Met Sally.
That's not a terrible guess. It is Runaway Bride.
Yeah.
And I legitimately don't remember the eggs thing. I think my wife would get this one. I know that we own it on streaming and that she puts it on in the background quite a bit when we're working in the office. But I remember there's something about him making her, Richard Gere making her eggs, but we're probably the exact wrong people for this.
I mean, you'd be surprised. Like I like a good romantic comedy. In my opinion, it's very hard to find a good romantic comedy.
Well, that one's 26 years old now. Like that came out when I graduated high school. I don't want you to tell me how old you were because it'll just make me feel older. So that movie's a ways back now.
Yeah. Which is it's fine. The only thing I could think of when you said that was Over Easy. I like him over easy. And I was like, that's The Crow. The girl, Sarah, her mom.
That would have been an awesome.
Yeah.
If that was the hint for a movie like The
Crow. Yeah. She panics because her mom isn't going to cook her eggs. She's actually trying for a change. And that was the only, when I realized that was what I was thinking of, I was like, I'm not going to get this one.
Well, those things happen.
Yeah.
Anything you want to shout out before we get out of
here? Hooray, summer.
Oh. Both of us working for schools that wrapped up this week. So, got the kids graduated yesterday. It's a good feeling and ready for the summer schedule. Well, I hope you guys enjoy a long holiday weekend. We will be off next week, but then when we're back, are you trying to scare me?
Boo!
The black cat has crossed my path. We'll be off next week. When we come back, we'll do some catch up. A lot of things coming out between now and then. Karate Kid, Legends comes out next week, and then John Wick from the World of John Wick Ballerina, which apparently the reason it got delayed is they had to do reshoots and insert a lot more John Wick into it to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Always a great
Bring her
sign.
back.
Always a great sign. Yeah, bring her back. The Phoenician scheme. A lot of things opening up. Some are just getting rolling, so we'll be checking in on all that. Till then, you guys have a wonderful and safe Memorial Day weekend. We will see you in 2 weeks. Until then, see you at the movies.